Oh, this lighting. Oh, you're gonna join me as usual, Estelle? Strap in, here we go! Oh, somebody's been messing with my picture. Just make yourself comfortable. So let's talk a little bit about parenting and what parenting is like when you have ADHD, more specifically. Boy howdy, is this a relevant topic for me, given that I'm a mother and I also have ADHD. Oh, it's gonna be a good one still, I can feel it. So for those of you who don't know or might be new to my channel, I'm a mom. I have 2 daughters. They are such sweet, smart, hilarious kids. I got diagnosed with ADHD shortly after having my oldest daughter. So it was around 5 years ago. Here's just a little fun fact that I've mentioned in other videos, but in case you didn't know, ADHD, especially in adults, a lot of times can be kind of triggered or noticed after a big life event happens. So like the birth of a child or marriage or even like traumatic events, things of that nature. So for me personally, I realized after going to therapy that I had ADHD probably my whole life, but it never really kind of reared its head and really made itself known and an issue until I became a mom. Again, no expert, I just know what I experience. And I'm wondering if, speaking of one of the lights of my life, here she comes. Honey, do you remember I said I'm filming?
It's just you want to know.
No, you just had 2 snacks right in a row. So I don't know if things like having kids makes ADHD really obvious for women just because of the hormonal changes and things that our bodies go through in pregnancy. I'm not sure what it is, but my ADHD definitely got worse and noticeable after I had children. Anyway. So if you're a parent, you probably know that parenting has many challenges. Unfortunately, when you have ADHD, it kind of makes all of the normal challenges just a little bit more challenging. Now, I'm not here to be all down and discouraging if you have ADHD and you're a parent. There are many positives that come from having ADHD. It can kind of be like a superpower in some ways if you understand it and you harness it, and it can be a great thing. Just parenting's hard. It's a hard job. When you have ADHD, it's got its own special challenges. You don't even have to have ADHD to find that distracting. You will not be allowed in the videos anymore if you don't stop. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of the issues that I have noticed as a parent who has ADHD. Hopefully some of you guys out there can relate and feel a little bit comforted knowing you're not alone. There's people out there who struggle just like you. The number one thing that I have noticed as a struggle, something that makes things a lot harder, is my anxiety. Now sometimes anxiety is around and then ADHD is there and it makes your anxiety more severe. Sometimes you didn't have anxiety until ADHD was an issue and then anxiety came along with the ADHD. But whatever the reason, anxiety very commonly goes hand in hand with ADHD. In fact, in one of the articles I read, I think it said like between 30 and 40% of people who have ADHD also have some other anxiety disorder. It kind of makes an already challenging thing, ADHD, into even a more complex beast because you throw anxiety in the mix and it's just, whew! All parents already have a certain level of anxiety because you're only responsible for keeping safe and raising and feeding and properly taking care of and keeping on time and teaching good morals and all of these things to human lives. And then you throw ADHD in the mix. One of our biggest traits is that our brains, right, hyperactivity, it can go in a million different directions at once. And again, this can be very what's the word? Good? Yeah, that's not the word I meant, but it can be a good thing. It could be a very good thing to have your brain just go in so many different directions, and it ends up that you can have so many different dreams. But with kids, take that anxiety of, oh, this is my precious child. I will protect them with my life. This world is a scary place. All these bad things could happen to them. With ADHD, your brain thinks of every single bad thing that could happen to them. You're at the store and you think, oh my gosh, my kid could get yanked. In fact, I saw this thing on the news, and this kid and their mom was out in broad daylight, and someone came and snatched their kid right in broad daylight and carried him through. That could happen to my kid. Or, oh shoot, you know what, she could just all of a sudden pass out right now. Like anything and everything, my brain probably cycles through like every day. And a lot of times for me personally, my anxieties form a lot around things that, like, I'm terrified of my kids getting taken from me, getting really, really sick, or them choking and me not being able to do something to help them. I'm getting all anxious thinking about it. I think my camera stopped recording to be like, girl, get it together. So being a parent full of anxiety, throw ADHD in there and it makes your anxiety a lot more difficult to manage. Number 2 for me is my irritability. This is one of my biggest parenting failures. When I feel the worst about the job that I'm doing as a parent, it comes with this, my irritability, my levels of irritability, and a lot of this has to do with ADHD, I learned. Through therapy, we were talking about what does ADHD even mean for me, what does that look like, and one of the things we talked about in a lot of detail was my level of irritability, how I can go from 0 to 60, like 60 being like rage, not like the angriest I've ever been, but like raising my voice, like angry over stupid stuff. And I was asking my therapist, I'm like, why is this? Like, it makes me feel awful when this happens. Like, why? Why does this happen? And a big part of it is because people with ADHD, one of our pros, one of the good things that come with it is we can become hyper-focused on tasks. This means that we can be very, very efficient in getting work done. We are very, very distractible, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but we can get hyper-focused and we can do some really, really, really good work, really detailed work, really good work. But when that mode of focus gets interrupted, oh boy, it can be very irritating. And what are kids? Some of the best, most distracting, all over the place things on the planet. So as you can imagine, like right now, for example, I'm finishing up my schooling and I can be sitting there doing some work and, Mom, can you help me with this? Mom, she's hitting me, she's pinching me. Mom, I'm hungry. Like, it happened. It's happened twice during this video. It takes our thoughts, right? So with ADHD, our thoughts can be all over the place. We found a project. We finally reined our thoughts in and we're trucking along and something comes in here and pulls us away. Like, do you know how hard it already is for us to stay focused and not be distracted, and then something comes in and it derails that thought process? First of all, it's really, really tough for us to get those thoughts back and get back on track. And second of all, I can't even explain it to you. There's just something, like you're messing up my process. And for some reason, it just makes me very irritable whenever that happens. Number 3 is definitely my forgetfulness. Now for me, I remember when I was looking into ADHD, it was saying a lot about if you're late, if you procrastinate, if you can never get work finished, if you never get work done on time, things like that. And I'm like, not me, not me, not me. For me, it doesn't manifest, excuse me. For me, it doesn't manifest in the same ways that you might expect. And again, women just in general, we don't really manifest ADHD in the same way that the world really expects. So for me, my forgetfulness is not, oh, I forgot to take my kids to baseball practice, or, oh, I completely forgot about your birthday. It's not like that. For me, it's the little things. Say that I told my kids, hey, when we come inside from playing in the yard, we'll have a snack. I forget so often about things like that, things that I've told them I would do, even if it's really small. Now, if it's bigger stuff, like I told them that we would go see a friend, that stuff that I can think of, I have never once completely forgotten about a commitment of going somewhere. I've always been super anal about being on time and making sure that I follow through with my commitments. And again, I don't know if that's just something because with women, a lot of times we don't show signs of ADHD because we've become so good at making sure that we don't do ADHD type things like be late or procrastinate. All I know is I've never struggled with that. My homework was always done on time. Wasn't always done well, but I always did my best and it was always on time. I'm always on time going places, with the exception of kids sometimes. Never been late to work. No. So if you've heard that and you think, oh, I don't do that, so maybe I don't have ADHD, don't take that as like you have to have that or you don't. it can manifest in different ways. So if you struggle with this like me when it comes to your kids, one of the things that I like to do is say that I'm talking to someone and my kid interrupts me, which happens all day, every day, all the time. One thing that I like to do is I hold their hand. So this way it kind of helps them, just even if you don't have ADHD, this is a good parenting technique I've found. I hold their hand, so then that way they know, hey, I hear you, but I'm not talking to you right now. I'm gonna finish my conversation and I won't forget. And then that way I've got their little hand and I don't forget. I don't just keep talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, or just listening and engaging without addressing their needs. So that's something that I found very helpful. Thanks, Mom, for the suggestion. The other thing that I do is I write everything down. I think the biggest reason that I am so on time with my schoolwork and I'm so on time with appointments and so all of that stuff is because I write everything down. And I've talked about this in a video before, but I write everything down at least 2 times, if not 3 times. There's like a calendar hanging in our kitchen, I write it on there. Then there's a calendar hanging on our fridge that breaks down just the week, and I write it down there. And sometimes I even write it, I have a calendar or a planner that I carry in my bag, and I write it in there. So it's usually 2 to 3 times. When it comes to schoolwork, it's the same. I've got a separate calendar in where I do my homework, where I write down all of my due dates, and it's a lifesaver. Issue number 4 that I sometimes experience is I try to take on too much sometimes as a parent. With ADHD, again, one of the positive things is you kind of have a lot of ideas and you kind of just want to do them all. And sometimes when you're a parent and you get too excited about things like that, you don't always follow through, or I completely forget that we talked about doing something or taking a trip. So I'm just always sure to be careful not to outwardly express my tree roots of different ideas going different directions to my kids until it's something that my husband and I have kind of talked about and we're for sure going to do. But having ADHD is not all bad when it comes to parenting, just like in life. It's not all bad. One of the things, number 5, that I noticed that I do in parenting and having ADHD is we do a lot of stuff. It's the weirdest thing, and it makes sense to me now that I know I have ADHD, but I'm an introvert. And growing up, I was out of school, straight to my room writing, or straight to my room reading, or straight to my house and just playing video games. I was not a very social creature. I still am not. But with my kids, I'm always thinking of stuff that we can do. Let's go to the splash pad. Let's go and check out this museum or that museum, and let's go on this family vacation or that family vacation. And I found that we do a lot. As a mom, I feel like that's something that is a huge positive, is I have all these ideas and I act on a lot of them. Number 6, I'd say the biggest positive of all, and the last thing I'm going to talk about, is I have a leg up on finding ADHD or noticing ADHD or picking up on ADHD in my kids. What do you want? You brought me Gil, because that's important to do right now. I have a leg up on detecting ADHD in my kids because now that I know I have it, I know what to look for, which is a huge positive reason to get diagnosed yourself. And this way, detecting it earlier in my kids will really help them as they're going to school and as they're just trying to get by in life. If they can understand earlier on what they're dealing with, 1, it won't seem as overwhelming, and 2, it'll just set them up better to do better in life. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. I'm sorry I bored you. Hope you guys got something out of this video. I enjoy making them. And thanks to those of you who have been emailing me or leaving comments on videos like this. You've given me a lot of good ideas of things to talk about, and I'm happy to do it. Why am I so awkward? Oh, my Lanta. Don't have a good outro, so let's see what we get today. It's always a fun surprise. Okay. Until next time, guys, please always feel free to leave a comment. I read every single one. It's not like I've got them flooding in. And thank you so much for over 800 subscribers. That blows my mind, gets me pumped. All right, see you guys later. Oh, Luna hair. Oof. Ugh. See you guys later. Oh, my legs, help me.